I've never in my entire playing career heard anybody say, I've been practicing my scales too much. You can use this video to play along with me. In fact, I've made a little scale sheet for you with just very, very beginning scales. All the scales that I go over in this video, I am going to demonstrate them. You can come back to this video, look for the demonstration, hit pause, and then play it along with me or play back and forth with me. Use these demonstrations in your practice. Use this video to inform you where your scales go in your practice and how you should be approaching them. And especially if you are new to scales, if you're new to violin, you can find this stuff on the internet, but I've put it in one place for you. So check out the description below. There's a free printout for you that covers all the scales that we're going to go through in this video. We're going to go over two things in this video. The first one is you need to know how to fit these scales into your routine. Okay, so let's just start right there. You're at the beginning of your violin journey. You know very little, if anything, about scales. I'm going to give you a handful of things that you can practice today. So I've broken this down into 4 points, how to fit scales into your routine. Number 1, you got to know which scales to practice, how often to practice them, how long in each of those practice sessions, and when throughout your practice session to practice them. You got to know which scales you need to practice. We study Western classical music, and there are 24 scales, 12 major and 12 minor. That is the most basic answer. Right now, you need to practice the ones that are going to help you figure out where to put your fingers when they're playing in first position. You've got 4 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've got open strings. We can put these fingers wherever we want, but what we're going to do is build a little system. All the first fingers in first position go here. All the second fingers go here. All the third fingers go here. All the fourth fingers go here. So we're trying to cover all the ones in first position. So what you're going to practice are your open string scales. So G, starting on the low G, D, starting on your D string, and A, starting on your open A. A. Then you have your first finger scales on the lowest string. A, then E, then B. Those are the 3 first finger scales that I recommend. And then we get into second finger scales, and these sort of start to bridge that gap between beginning and intermediate scales. So the second finger scales, B and F sharp, and then I would do C, third finger scale, starting here. This is another kind of bridge the gap. So C, third finger, and then G, this is just a continuation of your G major scale. So that you would just take up and make 2 octaves. So you see there's kind of some gray area once we get higher. And that takes you basically through all of the scales that you need, especially if we cover major and minor. Okay, and then the second point, you need to know how often. I'll give you one guess. If you didn't say every single practice session, you got it wrong. You need to practice scales in every single session. Okay. Point 3, how long do you need to practice your scales? You can do it as short or as long as you want. It can be as little as just taking one scale, playing it mindfully for 10 or 15 minutes. You have to spend time doing this, so find a way to make it interesting. Make it easy. Make it easy to get your violin out. Make it easy to practice the scales. You have all the sheet music in front of you. You have a video that you're going to play along with. Make it really accessible for you. Make it exciting. You can take this all the way up. Some teachers have recommended 50% of your practice time to be spent practicing scales. And this isn't just playing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do over and over. This is playing so many variations of these notes. We're just trying to memorize where our fingers go and practice playing them correctly, in tune, in the correct places. My last point, when do I need to fit scales into my routine? In my opinion, they need to be after you warm up and before you practice any repertoire. Really, you can practice them anytime after you warm up. Just make sure that you're warmed up before you start practicing your scales. When you practice your scales and technique first, now you're warming up your fingers and your notes in your mind, and you're getting all of the rest of those cobwebs kind of worked out before you start practicing your repertoire. So theoretically, once you get to your repertoire time, now you've got all of this free energy, free mind space available to you just to focus on making the music. Whether you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Meditation from Thais or some prestigious violin concerto, you need mental space to be creative, to make musical decisions. And if you're spending the whole time just trying to play the notes in tune, then you need to be spending more time practicing your scales and working out that intonation in your scales, then come back to your piece. You're still going to have to work on intonation, but if you can do a lot of the scale work before those pieces, then you're going to find a lot more success with the repertoire that you're learning. You're going to learn it faster, you're going to learn it more easily, and it's going to make playing violin a lot more fun. All right, so we're done with that discussion. Now let's figure out the next main point. How to figure out if you're playing in tune. So I've got 3 basic steps. The first one is you need to know what a scale sounds like. The second one, you need to listen and learn it and sing it. The goal being to sing it. Now, my third point here in figuring out if you're playing it in tune, it's just all the ways that we apply it to the instrument. So this breaks down into a lot of different steps. All right, let's get into the demonstrations. Okay, first I'm going to demonstrate what the scale sounds like on piano. So there's a demonstration of what it sounds like on piano. Their G major scale. And then this lower octave. Now I'm going to demonstrate what the scale sounds like on violin. Okay, I'm going to play that all separate notes. That's what a scale sounds like. So you can find examples of this all over the internet. Just make sure that you are very well in tune on your instrument and that whatever you're listening to also is coming with good intonation. So this could be a digitally produced tone, like some MIDI files, or a digital keyboard, or a piano that has been recently tuned. You just really want to make sure that it is in tune, because that is the whole goal, is playing more in tune. So you can memorize do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and that's going forward, and then backwards, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So memorize it going forward, memorize it going backwards. I want to sing the scale starting on this G. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Then you apply do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and then back to do. So now you know what the scale sounds like, and you can practice singing it on your own. When you play, you can listen, or you can sing it, do, re, mi, fa, fa, mi, re, do. And that's just practicing the first 4 notes. You could do that for the first 5 notes or for all 8 notes. But sing it and then repeat it. So that's another way that you can use singing to help you practice your scales. And so now we're getting into my third point, which is applying all of this to the instrument. So we can do this sing and repeat. We can play along with someone else or something else that's playing the scale perfectly in tune. We can also use a drone. So for example, if I played a G the whole time, and you went ahead and played your scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. You want to be paying attention to what that drone is. And for a G scale, the drone is going to be a G. And what we call this is using the root as a drone. So just remember that. If you have a G scale, the root is G. If you have a D scale, the root is D. So it's always going to be the name of the scale. So using a drone, this can be a drone outside of you. You can use your own string as a drone. Another thing about practicing scales with the drone is that you want to be testing every single root that you come across. So if I have a G drone, I'm going to play a G scale and I'm going to stop on every single G and play it for an extended period of time. Just really listen and hear that it's in tune. Now I'm not going to stop again until I get to the next G. And then I'm going to go back down. And that's the idea. So if I'm going to play along with a tuner, then I can play note by note, and you'll see, I'll put it up on the screen, when I play a G, how it sounds. My G string is maybe a little bit on the flat side. What I'm trying to do is get that moving triangle to be centered with the stationary green triangle. And now my next note is A. Look, I put it down and it's a little bit low, so I'm going to pick it up and try again. That's better. Okay, so now that I'm consistently putting it in the right place, my first finger, I'm basing all of my other fingers where my first finger goes. You know, it's kind of scary to put your first finger down because you don't know exactly where it goes. There's no other fingers are down. You're just playing an open string. You can sort of see behind it, and if you have tapes, you can put your finger on the tape. But at the end of the day, you need to be playing with your ears, not with your eyes. So we want to memorize that first finger. And looking at a tuner is a good way to do that because you're not looking at your instrument. Now, let's just watch the tuner. I'm going to play through the scale, not too slowly, and see how in tune I can make it. So you all watched the tuner go wild. For the most part, it stayed in the middle there, and it is a real challenge to play along with the tuner like that. It's not my preferred method of practicing scales. I don't do it a whole lot, but if that's something that interests you, go for it. I'm going to wrap it up with some final thoughts and a pro tip. So pro tip, don't practice your scales too slowly. You need to hear them in context. So you need to hear every note with the notes that come before and after it, and I mean several notes that come before and after it. So please don't race through your scales. I just put my violin up and played it. It didn't sound very in tune. But also don't... you might as well just be starting a scale from a new note every single time you play one. So don't play it that slowly either. Just no more than a quarter note at 60 beats per minute. It's about... Okay, you want it to flow, and maybe up to... to be able to enjoy every single note, hear every single note, but also hear it in context of all of the notes. Then there are so many scale methods, you're never going to run out of methods to learn. So for now, just learn what a scale is and use it to find where to put your fingers in the first position. We're going to start shifting and doing all of these wonderful things on violin, but at first you're responsible for these fingers. So learn these really well, use the scales that practice those fingerings, and that is in the scales that I tell you about. And the final note really is that you just have to practice scales regularly. In this area, more is basically always better. Because it can be so dry, we don't naturally gravitate toward practicing scales. So almost everybody is deficient in practicing scales. It's just the way that our brains are wired. It doesn't need to take all of your practice time, but you need to do enough. And if you are finding that your intonation is suffering in the music that you're playing, then you need to practice more scales. If your intonation is going great and you're like kind of missing your pieces, then maybe you're practicing too many scales. But I've never, in my entire playing career, heard anybody say, I've been practicing my scales too much. Never, ever, ever. Okay? So you really can't do too much in this case. Practice your scales, do it as much as you can, enjoy the process, and let me know if you have any questions. Finally, thank you so much for watching this video. Please share it out with all of your budding violinist friends, and I'll see you in the next one.